All right, so Amalia, thanks for coming. You were just
Thank
recently
you.
with your partner Thomas, and you guys are from Consultant Power at the Business Growth Seminar. I remember talking to you in the foyer, and we were going over some of our stories, and you had this really amazing story, I think, because it provides such a global perspective, and I was hoping you'd be willing to share that story with us.
You must be talking about my story as a 9-year-old gathering
Yes.
a few of the kids around.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, so every summer, because my parents were entrepreneurs, they worked all the time. So during summer, they pretty much packed us up and took us to grandma or my auntie's place in Romania. So we lived in Hungary. All summer we were with grandma or my auntie's little town. So what's interesting about the little towns is that they're all community driven. You don't have any big stores, you don't have a Woolworths or Coles as such. So everything looked after each other, and what happened during these summer breaks, all the kids would play together during the day, and then as soon as the cows started to come home, that was the sign that we had to go home as well. So it was an interesting pattern. We didn't rely more on time. We looked at where the sun is setting, the cows are walking back after feeding in the meadows during the day. We have to go home as well. So we were hanging out with all these kids, all around the same age, and they were all really interested in finding out what is life like in another country. Because both of the countries, they went through a lot of communism, so there was limited information, limited exposure to the Western world in Romania and Hungary at that point in time. So when I returned during summer break, all the kids wanted to hear what is life like in the other country, in the more open country. And I told them, hey, we have color TV. And I watched this movie about this young girl who went through a traumatic experience, and they all gathered around, and I remember sitting in the dirt. It wasn't even on grass, sitting in the dirt. They all sat in a circle, legs crossed, and they started to listen quite attentively, and I thought, I better do this story justice and tell the story quite well to these other 8 and 9-year-olds. So I was telling them the story how this girl went to the beach and she jumped into the ocean, and when she jumped in, her head hit a rock and her spinal cord broke, so she became disabled. And suddenly the kids were like, oh my God, what is an ocean? And then I had to think, of course, I have to explain every aspect of the movie, because these kids have never heard of the concept of the ocean or really know what it looks like. So it helped me to start to be a better storyteller, to really bring people into my picture frame. So I always talk about, bring people into your frame so they can see the same movie that you're playing. So you have to add sounds and feelings and scents and just break it down into the most intricate DNA of what is happening, so they can feel the story and understand the story. It was really interesting that as a 8-9-year-old, you're learning as you're teaching through storytelling. So that's where I guess the passion came from, for sharing my knowledge with other children at the time. And I would love to find out where these kids are today. Did they stay around in the same town, or did they actually travel the world? Because I remember telling them, I will see the ocean, I will swim in the ocean, because I seen the picture and I associated that real strong want with that image.